different. After this race, we go on to Australia. I won't be streaming that for obvious reasons. It's at like 6 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, we're just awaiting the start of the race at the moment. So yeah, they're just running adverts right now on Sky where it's like, you can run on board with all 20 drivers with the Sky Sports F1 app and that kind of thing. If you have a Sky account, by the way, you have to have a Sky account for that. There's a lot of difference between this track and Bahrain, because Bahrain's quite an open circuit. It is quite there's less technical turns. Your reaction times don't need to be as quick as they do in Saudi Arabia. And you could argue that there's more overtaking opportunities in Bahrain than there is in Saudi Arabia. The main passing options in Saudi Arabia are turn 1, 2 degree, turn 3 or 4, and the last corner. They're sort of the main overtaking opportunities there. Yeah, we're heading towards the start of the race. A couple minutes until the race starts, and we will be ready to get underway for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Of course, Carlos Sainz out with appendicitis, so Ollie Bearman comes in, and he's going to be making his Formula 1 debut. And we might see quite a bit of tyre bumping into the last corner, because it is a very, very difficult corner, the last turn. For all of the controversy around Saudi Arabia hosting Grand Prix, it's a very good racetrack, especially in qualifying, because you get these amazing laps. Hello, Sean. Once again, I'm behind, so don't spoil anything for me. We're just going through the sort of driver intro kind of thing. Bottas's hair is nuts. So, as I was saying, yeah, so there's a few overtaking opportunities, but it's quite a challenging circuit, because the reaction times you need to have at this circuit is, honestly, it is mental. Like, the reaction times that you need, it's corner after corner. It's such a strange oxymoron, because, some sections of the track, you got corner after corner, fast left-hander, fast right-hander, and yet there's, and then you'd have a really long straight. It's quite an interesting layout. I think that the track that's been proposed for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, that's been designed by Alex Wirtz, I think it's a good circuit. People were making Mario Kart references to it. And we are at round 2 of the 2024 Formula 1 World Championship in Saudi Arabia. Of course, it can't be a world championship without being on many a continent. And here's the Jeddah Corniche circuit, 50 race laps, 3.836 miles, 6.174 kilometers. Lewis Hamilton with a lap record and a top speed of 213 miles an hour, an elevation of 2.48 meters, and 27 turns, many of which are flat out due to the downforce of these cars. The C4, C3 and C2 compound, the soft, medium and hard. Medium on average 4/10 lap slower, and the hards 1.1 seconds a lap slower. I reckon we're going to be seeing a lot of medium hard strategies today, but I'm not sure. I don't know what the tyre compounds are, but here we are running through the grid. Zhou Guan Yu last on the grid. He couldn't get a time in because he had a problem in practice, and then we have Logan Sargent, and then the two Alpines of Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon, slightly better than last weekend when they qualified on the back row. Then it's Valtteri Bottas and Nico Hülkenberg, who didn't set a time in Q2. Then we've got Daniel Ricciardo, who was in that spat, of course, with Yuki Tsunoda last weekend, and in front of him is Kevin Magnussen. In 12th is Alex Albon, and then 11th, the debutant Oliver Bearman, of course, the young driver. 10th is Lance Stroll, and then following him is Yuki Tsunoda in 9th. And then it's the Mercedes on row 4, Lewis Hamilton in 8th, and George Russell in 7th. And then on row 3, it's an all-McLaren competition, as Lando Norris is just behind his teammate Oscar Piastri, who out-qualified him by 43 milliseconds. On row 2, Fernando Alonso, who qualified second here last year, is just behind Sergio Perez, who was the pole sitter last year, of course. And then the front row, Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, the same front row that it was in Bahrain. Verstappen taking his first pole around the Jeddah Corniche circuit. The best thing about Monaco, you can't overtake here. Kimi Räikkönen Mini Drivers 2017. I haven't watched Mini Drivers in a while. I used to watch it when I was younger. I used to make those funny noises. That kind of thing. So yeah, we are getting ready for the start. The formation lap is about to begin, and we will then be underway for the 2024 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Many people have got, like, I think that's glow sticks that change colours. A few people got their phones out, fair enough, to take videos of this. A very interesting Grand Prix we are set to have, hopefully. And there he is, the youngest driver to compete for Ferrari in a Formula 1 race, and the first driver to debut for Ferrari since 1972, when Arturo Merzario made his Grand Prix debut for Ferrari. Some mental statistics. He becomes the third youngest Grand Prix driver of all time, behind only two other drivers on the grid, Lance Stroll and the man on pole today, Max Verstappen. So this is going to be a fascinating race, hopefully, as we're about to get the formation lap underway. And I just realised I haven't got my ring light, so hang on a second, guys, and I will go and get a ring light. Go and get my ring light working. Hang on. There we go. Ooh, I'm trying not to hit anything. There we go. Maybe a bit bright. Hang on. Look like a ghost. No, other way. Other way. There we go. There we go. That's pretty good. I look a bit pale, but I've not been on holiday since October, so not been out in the sun very much because there's not been much sun in Scotland. You don't get sun very much at all here. And it's roughly, well, that's now, so yeah, I'm roughly a minute and a half behind, roughly. So the formation lap's just starting for me because I'm watching it on my phone. Trying to see if I can maybe speed it up a little bit. Yep, okay, right, it's gone forward a little bit. So I'm roughly about a minute back, guys, so please don't spoil anything if there's something that happens. I am watching the chat on my computer screen and I'm watching the race on my phone because the streaming software I use means I can't actually watch it on my computer, so that's quite annoying. As the last car, Zhou Guanyu, finally gets off the grid. I think he might have had a problem off the grid because he's quite a bit behind the others. So yeah, there's some really cool turns at this track, and actually we could have our first multiple winner this weekend, as of course 2021 was won by Lewis Hamilton, that very controversial race. 2022 we had that brilliant battle between Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, which Verstappen came out on top. And last year, Sergio Perez won due to a safety car problem that Red Bull had with Verstappen, where Perez managed to get ahead of him because of the timing of the safety car. Because I think Verstappen pitted a lap before the safety car came out, and then the safety car came out and he fell behind the two Ferraris and his teammate. So, on the formation lap now, there is Sir Lewis Hamilton, of course, set to move to Ferrari in 2025. He was originally meant to be the first English driver to compete for Ferrari since Nigel Mansell, the first British since Eddie Irvine. However, Carlos Sainz getting appendicitis kind of got rid of those plans as Oliver Bearman steps in for Ferrari, meaning that he had to withdraw from the Formula 2 race that was on today, which was very exciting indeed. And then there is Oliver Bearman's father, but he is very proud of his son. His family are Leighton Orient supporters, which is quite interesting. Yeah, I mean, hopefully he does better than Leighton Orient. I'm a Man United fan, so I'm kind of, oh, look at me on my high step. Saudi Arabia is probably the only street circuit other than Monaco that us F1 fans accept. I think Baku can be good at times. I think all street circuits can have their good race depending on the amount of chaos that there is, but I still prefer open tracks, like Bahrain, like Silverstone, Monza, yeah, I prefer tracks like that over Canada's a hybrid, and I like that. Canada's a hybrid of a street circuit and a proper racing circuit, because it is technically on public roads, but the way it's laid out is amazing, and I love Canada. It's probably one of my favourite tracks. Red Bull Ring's another one I really like as well, but that's obviously open roads. Not open roads, sorry, like more wide. But here we go, we're getting ready for the start. Hopefully Charles Leclerc gets a good start here. 3, 4, 5 lights. And we're go for the 2024 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. It's a good start from Max Verstappen and a great start from Sergio Perez as into turn 1 they go. And it's just about Verstappen who leads. Perez gets himself up into second. He's running side by side with Charles Leclerc, who nearly hits the wall there. And they're still running side by side as they head in towards turn 4. Leclerc's on the inside, so he comes out just in front of Perez. And following them is Fernando Alonso, the 2 McLarens, 2 Mercedes, then Stroll, Tsunoda, and Oliver Behrman. And that's your top 11 so far. The front 4 pulling away a little bit, front 5 pulling away a little bit here from the McLaren. The second McLaren, I think it's Lando Norris. Yes, it is. And then it's Russell, Hamilton, Stroll, Tsunoda, and Behrman that makes up the top 11. As further back, we've got a battle here between Hamilton and Stroll. A little bit wide there goes Tsunoda. Oliver Behrman trying to get ahead up into the points, but he's just a little bit too far back for now. And Tsunoda is the outlier in the top 10, as he's the only one who isn't in a top 5 team. Of course, Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, and Aston Martin. And Gasly has already got damage, so he's going to be pitting. I think that's the reason why. I mean, I don't know why anybody else would pit on the first lap of the race unless they had damage. But at the end of the first lap, we're coming towards. Verstappen still leads, and then it's Leclerc, Perez, and we've got a battle going on here. We have to retire the car. Gasly's already retiring from the race, and we don't know why. But anyway, we've got a battle going on here between Tsunoda and Behrman. And Behrman's going to try and move up into the points here. He's going to go around the outside of Yuki Tsunoda. 2 young drivers going at it. And he's, a little bit squirrely out of the last corner, but he's got the legs on Tsunoda. He's in the slipstream. He's going to pull out. And we've got another battle going on here between Piastri and Alonso. And Piastri goes around the outside. It's a great move past. And there goes Stroll defending from Tsunoda, surprisingly, and Behrman's having to try and get ahead, but it's difficult because Tsunoda was trying to get ahead of Stroll, so Behrman can't get ahead for now. But at the moment, we've got a battle going on in the middle of the pack, as Verstappen has a 1.1 second lead over Leclerc as we head onto the second lap. Perez dropping off a little bit from Leclerc as well, but this has been a very entertaining opening lap. We've got that battle going on for 9th place at the moment, and the field is becoming a little bit more spread out now, and things are beginning to settle down a little bit as Oliver Behrman we are focusing on through here. As I said, the youngest British Formula 1 driver ever, even younger than Lando Norris was when he debuted in F1 in 2019 at the Australian Grand Prix. Even, younger than Ricardo Rodriguez to become the youngest ever Ferrari driver, a record that was held for some 62 years, which is mental. For context, when Ricardo Rodriguez made his debut for Ferrari, Carlos Sainz's dad wasn't even born. That's how long ago it was. In 1961, a lot of stuff was happening, and none of these drivers were alive. I'm pretty sure most of their parents weren't alive, and my parents certainly weren't, and my grandparents were teenagers. So that just shows how long ago that was. But anyway, as we head into lap 3, it seems as though the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc and the 2 Red Bulls are pulling away from Piastri and Alonso and Norris. The top 10 at the moment, Verstappen leading, and then Leclerc, Perez, Piastri, Alonso, Norris, Russell, Hamilton, Stroll, and Tsunoda. As here's a replay of the race start, and it was a good start from Sergio Perez. He probably had the best launch out of the top 4. A very poor launch for Lando Norris. He ended up being in a fight with the Mercedes too, according to AWS. Verstappen had a really good reaction time of 0.29 seconds. The fact that George Russell, a rookie, knows like 1900s champions in Grill the Grid. I mean, Sebastian Vettel was the master of that. Here's a replay of Russell's start, and he thinks Lando Norris had a jump start, and I think if it was, it'd probably be a similar case to Sebastian Vettel in Suzuka in 2019. Now, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Vettel was on pole, and he jumped the start, but what happened was Wait, did he jump the start? Oh, he did. He did jump the start. Norris did jump the start. So I wonder if the same thing will happen that happened to Vettel and Suzuka. So what happened to Vettel and Suzuka was he had such a poor start and dropped down to third. Because he went too early, he had to slow down his approach, and he was a little bit more delayed in his reaction. Same thing happened to Norris there, and I wonder if the same thing is going to happen where there's not really a penalty handed out because he lost time anyway. But here comes Sergio Perez down the inside. He's going to go for second place, and it's a great move. And it seems as though the Red Bulls are already going to pull off into the sunset here, unless Leclerc can do something about it. Verstappen's already pulling away, and that Red Bull is just too quick a car for the Ferrari to keep up with. In qualifying, it can do it, but in the race, not so much. I mean, the only way I can imagine anyway where, Red Bull don't win a race this year is Monaco, because if Leclerc or Sainz can qualify well, then they can beat the Red Bulls in qualifying and just hang on in the race. But Verstappen sets the fastest lap of all, 1:34.043. Here's a replay of Perez on the medium tyres going for a move. And it's a pretty simple move, really, using the DRS. He does brake a little bit later than he probably wanted to, because Leclerc was a little bit ahead, but he did manage to make the move in the end. And Leclerc is just going to be trying to hang on here and just sort of keep third place, best of the rest, as it was. But we have got a battle going on for fourth between Piastri and Alonso. Leclerc keeping up at the moment with Perez, but he's nearly outside of a second already, actually, so that's nuts. Oliver Behrman's the only driver that isn't on the him and Bottas, Oliver Behrman and Bottas are the only drivers who are not on the medium or hard compounds. They're on the softs, as if we are looking through the field, Verstappen, all of the top 10 in fact are on medium tires, and actually nobody is on hards. Everybody is on mediums apart from Bottas and Behrman, who are on softs. So I think most drivers are going to be going with a medium-hard strategy here, a one-stop, which is quite boring. They also said that there's literally a 0.1% chance you can overtake. If Ferrari can qualify in the top 3 and overtake Verstappen, they can win the race. Well, top 3 is probably, really impossible, but, pole, maybe. But it seems as though that Verstappen's already pulling out a gap, and Leclerc's trying to keep up with Perez, but it's difficult. But we have got this battle going on between Piastri and Alonso. Alonso just about keeping up with him. The Aston Martin looking a lot quicker this weekend than in Bahrain, for Alonso anyway, as he qualified in fourth, just behind Perez and Leclerc, as Perez just about pulls out of the DRS range now for Leclerc, so he's going to have a heck of a job trying to get back ahead. But Piastri gained 6/10 on Charles Leclerc that last lap, so I think we might have a battle for the podium here, to be fair, between Leclerc, Piastri and Alonso. And, well, as I say that, Piastri seems to be pulling away from Alonso a little bit more than Alonso will be wanting. He does still get DRS though, so that will help him keep up, especially in the last sector, because it's a double DRS zone. If you don't know what that means that when the drivers hit the detection point, if they're within a second, they get 2 different DRS zones that they can use DRS in. And Alonso is closing up to Piastri here. He's half a second back as they head in towards the first corner. He's gained up quite a bit on him. And that means that you gain roughly half a second from DRS, depending on the gap, as Lance Stroll's really struggling in this opening stint, as he's got a train of cars behind him, which lasts all the way until 13th place, Alex Albon. So Stroll's struggling in the early stages of this race. He's 3.5 seconds back from Lewis Hamilton, and Tsunoda and Oliver Behrman lapping at very similar rates of pace, really, but it doesn't help that they are both stuck behind Lance Stroll, who's really struggling at the moment. People were saying that they were touting Oliver Behrman to score points. He's only had a 60-minute free practice session and qualifying to log data, because, of course, Carlos Sainz did compete in FP1 and FP2, but then he found out he had appendicitis, had to get a surgery done, and to quote James Acaster in the Great British Bake Off, bon appetit. So at the moment, Verstappen leads 2.6 seconds from Perez, and then it's Leclerc, Piastri, Alonso, Norris, Russell, Hamilton, Stroll, and Tsunoda. Oliver Behrman still behind Tsunoda, but he's closing right up on him as they head. Oh, and Stroll's off, and Stroll's out. Big crash. Lance Stroll's out of the race. And we don't know what's happened there. I think it might have been a brake problem there. He seemed to have just locked up out of nowhere. And that is definitely going to be a safety car, because they're not going to clear that car out. Stroll messages saying that he is okay, but he is out of the race. We don't know what happened there. Either it was a brake problem or a front wing failure perhaps. But he's out of the race, that's for sure. But Verstappen's lead of 2.6 seconds is going to disappear. 11 seconds is the time lost under safety car or VSC, and Bottas and Behrman are going to see this as an opportunity to pit and maybe try and go to the end of the race. 43 laps on the hards could be manageable, to be fair, but we've still not got a safety car yet. And there we go, there's the safety car now deployed as Lance Stroll's out of the race. We're going to have to get a replay of that to see what really happened to him there. So that is one retirement from this race. We're down to 18 runners, because Pierre Gasly retired. And in 7 laps, we've already had more retirements than in the Bahrain Grand Prix, as all 20 cars finished the Bahrain Grand Prix, albeit some further back than others, such as Logan Sargent, who had a brake bias problem. And as I said, Bottas and Behrman taking that opportunity. Oliver Behrman is going to come into the pits. And let's see what happened to Lance Stroll. So he's running about 200 miles an hour. And, he hits the wall. It's a driver error there. So he goes, I say driver error, I mean, it's so close to the wall, but just a tiny bit of contact with the wall and you're out of the race. He hits the wall and he is out of the Grand Prix. And that's what happens when you have just a moment of lapse of concentration. And that gives Oliver Behrman and Yuki Tsunoda 10th and 9th place there, now up into the points as the safety car is now out. Perez is going to be coming into the pits here. And I think he's slowing down a little bit because, for goodness sake, they're all coming into the pits. I think we all know what's going to happen here, and that is every single car is going to pit. Hey Liam, I can't listen in, but I hope you're good. I'm just looking at leaderboard on Google. It's a lap or two behind, but how this is going to work is every single driver is going to pit for hard tires. The only fun thing that might happen is because certain drivers are in certain parts of the pit lane at certain times, some might lose or gain positions, but that's not even happening here. Some of them are having quick pit stops and some of them are having really slow ones. Alonso had an 8.7 second pit stop, and everybody's pitting apart from Zhou and Norris and Hamilton, as out of the pits comes Behrman, and he's just ahead of Magnussen and just behind Tsunoda. But there's not really very many mix-ups in the order. You can tell which drivers are pitted and which drivers haven't, because the drivers that haven't pitted are on mediums and the drivers who have are on hard tyres. So the drivers that haven't pitted are Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, Nico Hülkenberg, and Zhou Guanyu. Everybody else has pitted. So the net race order is Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc, Piastri, Alonso, Russell, Tsunoda, Behrman. Where's Hamilton? Where's Hamilton on that list? Oh, Hamilton hasn't pitted yet. So this is going to be interesting because we've got split strategies here. So actually, not everybody has pitted, and that's fun because that means we'll have a bit of the shake-up, And if Norris can hold Verstappen up at the restart, then we could be on for something, I suppose. But that's me just thinking optimistically as an F1 fan. Typically, I'm not an optimistic person or a pessimistic person, but when it comes to motorsport, you kind of have to think optimistically and hope that something good will happen. But Stroll's going to be angry at himself because he made a mistake and he's out of the race, but it's such a minor mistake as well. Like that shows how even F1 drivers who drive at 200 miles an hour with a lot of G's, with pinpoint precision, are human, and it's just the tiniest touch and he's out of the race. I mean, that just shows how incredible Formula 1 is and how tricky it is to drive on street circuits like this. The average human wouldn't last 30 seconds in a Formula 1 car. Actually, be lucky if they have 10, not only because of the neck strain, but also because of the challenges, the throttle application, being able to gear correctly. Formula 1 drivers are different gravy And that might get investigated. Sergio Perez's pit lane exit there was a little bit suspicious. And they should have waited. They should have waited, but they didn't. And I think Sergio Perez might get penalised for that, because what happened was he came out of the pits, of his pit box. Alonso was coming through, and he nearly hit him, so he will get penalised for that. I mean, the precedent is a 5-second penalty for that sort of incident. That's what the precedent's been set by the FIA. So we're currently under safety car, 9 laps into this 50-lap race at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. My name is Liam, and I'm commentating over the Saudi Grand Prix. Of course, I can't show footage because I will get taken down very quickly. But Lando Norris is currently in the race lead because he has not pitted yet. Following him is Max Verstappen, and then Lewis Hamilton, Sergio Perez, Charles Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Fernando Alonso, Nico Hülkenberg, George Russell, and Zhou Guanyu. However, it is worth noting that, as I said, there have been a few cars that are yet to pit, which are Norris, Hamilton, Hülkenberg, and Zhou. Now, I reckon what these guys are banking on is another safety car happening, because then they can pit and they can have better tyre life. And a similar strategy was used by Juan Manuel Correa in the Formula 2 race. However, it didn't pay off for him in the end, and he ended up finishing second last. And here's a replay of Charles Leclerc. And see, they waited, and they did the right thing. They had a slow stop, but it was because they waited. They waited for the other cars. They waited for the Aston Martin and the McLaren to get into their pit box. They did the right thing. The Red Bull didn't, and that's why Perez is probably going to get penalised. But as I say that, the safety car is about to end, and we're going to get going again. 18 runners left in this race, as Lance Stroll and Pierre Gasly are both out of the race, and we're getting ready for the restart. Norris up against Verstappen. It's very rare that you see somebody who isn't Max Verstappen having a safety car restart, but this is going to be interesting to see how Norris handles this, because we're so used to seeing Verstappen, as I said, doing the restarts. And question is he going to go mid-straight, or is he going to go in the corner? He hasn't gone yet. He still hasn't gone yet. And he's probably going to go after entering the final corner, because then he can get a good boost off of the last corner. And he's still waiting. He's not gone yet. He's going to go as late as possible here. And I think the reason for that is so he doesn't get passed by Verstappen into turn 1, and we are go for the restart, and Lando Norris leads from Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Sergio Perez. But as I say that, we've got a battle going on just behind between Oscar Piastri and Charles Leclerc. Piastri trying to get ahead into turn 1, and at the moment we've got a battle going on between those two. Lando Norris still leads, and then it's Verstappen and Hamilton. We've got side-by-side action there between the Mercedes of George Russell and Nico Hülkenberg. Kevin Magnussen dropped a few places in the order, and at the moment things seem to be quite clean on the track. Norris has actually pulled almost a second out on Verstappen already, which, that's pretty good. We've actually got a bit of racing. So the order at the moment, it's pretty much unchanged from what it was on the restart, and that is Norris, Verstappen, Hamilton, Perez, Leclerc, Piastri, Alonso, Hülkenberg, Russell, and Zhou. It is in fact unchanged. However, you can expect that Hamilton and Norris are eventually, and Zhou and Hülkenberg will eventually get past due to their tyre wear. However, the counter argument to that is that old mediums are probably still quicker than new hard tyres. Hard tyres are 7/10 a lap slower than mediums on average. So you'd think that with the wear, the mediums wouldn't be quicker, right? Nope, because of how big the difference is. The mediums are hanging on for now. We're 10 laps in. I think they last 25 to 30 laps. So these guys are going to try to go to the end on hard. So they're going to have to manage their tyres. And then Norris and co are going to go a little bit longer, hope for another safety car, and then pit for hards. And then they will have the fresher tyres towards the end of the race. That's what their plan is here, as far as I can tell. Although I am no F1 strategist. I am no Bernie Collins, that's for sure. But we've got a lock up there from Ollie Behrman into turn 1. while he was trying to get past Zhou Guanyu and get back into the points. DRS is now enabled, and there's not really, Verstappen's not in DRS of Norris at the moment. He's 1.1 seconds back from him, and it's actually good to see that. As we head into turn 1, here's a replay, and I think this is what happened to Kevin Magnussen. I think him and Alex Albon might have had a little bit of contact. Am I right in saying that? Or maybe it was just, here we go. We're continuing the replay, and I think they might have had a bit of contact, and yeah, they did. And Albon, I think, has a bit of front wing damage from that, as they were running side by side heading into turn number 4. And Albon's he sort of kept his nose in when Magnussen's ahead. Magnussen probably could have left a little bit of room, but it didn't work out in the end. As here's a replay of Oliver Behrman trying to get ahead of Yuki Tsunoda into turn 1. He outbreaks him. He gets ahead, and he is ahead of him, I think, in this race. So that means he is now in a net P8 or 9. Here's something very interesting. The Perez-Alonso incident for an unsafe release has been noted by the stewards. So this is going to get quite fascinating. Verstappen does have DRS on Lando Norris. He is closing in on him, but not enough. And Norris is being investigated for an incorrect starting location. So that'll be for his jump start, we assume anyway. And they're going to have a look at that. I don't think they'll penalise him, but maybe they will. I mean, the FIA stewards do some very strange stuff, so maybe they will penalise him, maybe they won't. And it is now under investigation, the Perez-Alonso incident. It was originally noted, now it is under investigation. And I think we can expect a penalty to come Sergio Perez's way for that incident. And that's going to put Red Bull back a little bit in this race, as Lando Norris is keeping that gap to Max Verstappen, roughly 1 second being the gap. Lewis Hamilton a further 1.6 seconds back from Verstappen. And then it's Sergio Perez 3.2 seconds back from Norris. He's within DRS of Hamilton. So we've got a little bit of a DRS stream from Hamilton up until about Piastri. And then Fernando Alonso's a little bit back, but he's trying to get within that DRS, and I think he will by the end of this lap. Nico Hülkenberg just a little bit ahead of George Russell at the moment, so that Haas is running good on those medium tyres. He's able to keep ahead. And now you can see the interval gaps, and Hamilton's nearly 2 seconds back, as Verstappen's really putting the foot down now. He's 7/10 back from Norris, and you can expect him to be ahead of him any minute now because of the pace of that Red Bull. Albon on the radio, he didn't give me enough space, so Otis, who's his engineer, I'm guessing, you need to speak to the stewards about it. And his engineer said, yep, saw you got squeezed into the wall, but here we go. Here's the battle for the race lead. Max Verstappen versus Lando Norris. Hopefully Norris defends it and gives the fans a little bit of excitement, and he doesn't defend it at all. Verstappen goes into the lead, and there you go. Verstappen's won the race. And yeah, as soon as I say that, Perez gets ahead of Hamilton up into third, and he's going to be trying to hunt down Norris. And this is when the sort of the cliff is about to be hit with the medium tyres. And they're going to be hoping that there's another incident and another safety car. The Magnussen Albon incident has now been noted, and it's going to be interesting to see whether that is taken any further than just being noted, if it will be investigated. And Magnussen saying he thinks he has floor damage. And despite that, he is still running within a second of Yuki Tsunoda, so he's doing alright despite the circumstances, the alleged circumstances of him having the damage. But as we head on to lap number 14 of the race, Verstappen's leading by 1.3 seconds by Norris, and then it's Perez, Hamilton, Leclerc, Piastri, Alonso, Hülkenberg, Russell, and Zhou. Although, as I said, Norris, Hamilton, Hülkenberg, and Zhou are still to pit, as there was a safety car earlier on in the race, which meant that Lance Stroll and Pierre Gasly retired. Well, Pierre Gasly retired early on. Lance Stroll retired because of a driver error in which he tapped the wall and went into the barriers. And here we go, we're heading into the last corner now. Verstappen's probably going to set another fastest lap. Is he? There you go, another fastest lap from Verstappen, a 1:33.144. And we're on board with Charles Leclerc as he heads in towards turn 1. He's just a little bit too far back from Lewis Hamilton as they head into the first corner. And Hamilton in turn is a little bit behind Sergio Perez, although still within DRS. And now the Albon Magnussen incident is under investigation. And we've got 2 overtakes there. Hülkenberg getting passed by George Russell, and Oliver Behrman getting ahead of Zhou Guanyu. So Behrman's now up into 10th and Russell into 8th. And the top 1.8 is as expected, essentially. But an interesting thing to keep an eye on, because of Lance Stroll's retirement, we're probably going to have a midfield team get their first points of the season, because as you can see here, Kick, Racing Bulls, Haas, Williams and Alpine are all yet to score so far this season, but due to Lance Stroll's retirement, it is a guarantee that at least one of them will score a point. Hamilton ahead is struggling on his tyres, is what Piastri has been told on his radio, and it's quite true, because he is beginning to fall away a little bit from Perez. Now, he was 8 tenths back at the beginning of the lap, and now he's 1.3 back, and we're not even at the end of the lap. And here's a replay of George Russell's overtake on Nico Hülkenberg. I was trying to remember who it was for a second there, but he's gotten ahead of Nico Hülkenberg up into 8th place of this race, and it's been a decent race so far. There's been quite a bit of racing going on. He gets ahead of him at turn 1, which is the favoured passing option for every driver, pretty much, as we see a replay just a little bit behind as Oliver Behrman gets ahead of Zhou Guanyu. And no further investigation into Norris, which is what I thought would happen, because he didn't gain anything from the jump start. And here's Lewis Hamilton against Charles Leclerc. These two are going to go side by side into turn number 1 and 2. Leclerc just about gets ahead, but that was a good bit of racing there between the two of them. The teammates for next year not having a collision, which was nice clean racing there between the two of them. Now Leclerc is going to try and set after Sergio Perez, because Perez is not catching Norris in this race, despite the fact that Verstappen has pulled 2.6 seconds out on him since passing him some 4 laps ago. So Verstappen's gaining a lot on Norris. Perez is not really gaining a lot on Norris at all. Leclerc 2 seconds back from Perez, having just got ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Oscar Piastri now just behind Hamilton in this race, and Alonso's struggling quite a bit as well. Any chance of plan B, because they're in another league? I think when he's referring to there, he's referring to the Mercs, the McLarens and the Ferraris and the Red Bulls. And Alonso's plan B, well, we'll see what it is, but I think it involves a certain soft tyre compound. However, maybe it doesn't. I mean, hopefully Aston Martin, for their sakes, can find a way back into this race and try and get themselves in contention for that podium spot, but it's just really hard at the moment because of the pace of Oscar Piastri, of Lewis Hamilton, of Charles Leclerc, of Lando Norris, of Sergio Perez, and of course the race leader by nearly 3 seconds now, Max Verstappen. We are in a bit of a DRS train here as Hamilton is a little bit behind, and there you go, there's the penalty for Sergio Perez, and it's going to be a 5-second penalty. I was going to say it before it even came up, because that's what you assume it be, and it is a 5-second time penalty, and the note is that it is a 5-second time penalty for car 11, Sergio Perez, for an unsafe release because of him releasing right into the path of Alonso, which caused them, almost anyway, to collide. As Piastri is just behind Hamilton here, he's trying to get ahead of him, trying and clear what is basically a mobile chicane for him at the moment. Hamilton's lost DRS from Leclerc. Alonso is miles back from him, and Oscar's going to be hoping to get ahead of him. And we've got a penalty for Kevin Magnussen, a 10-second penalty for the collision with Alex Albon. He didn't leave him any room, is what the stewards have stated. And I think the main reason why they would say that is because Albon was still side by side with him, technically. It wasn't like he was behind him and Albon went into the space. And Hamilton says they're killing it in the high speed, and I think he is referring to the McLaren and the Ferrari there, who are probably going more with a high speed setup than a downforce setup, because a high speed setup is when you put less downforce on the car, less grip essentially, so you're focusing on your top speed rather than your acceleration out of the corners. So that means you're more likely to be slower in the corners, faster on the straights. That's what the gear ratios are, and then the downforce, you're taking downforce off the car, so it's a little bit trickier for it to handle. Here's the battle between the McLaren and the Mercedes. Norris is going to go around the outside, but he's gone off the track, so he's Piastri, he's gone off the track, and he's let Hamilton back through, which I think is a bit generous, because I think Hamilton didn't leave him enough room there when coming off of onto the turn 1 apex, I should say. As they head through the end of the first sector, the high-speed roller coaster, the gap between Norris and Verstappen 4 seconds now, and further back Kevin Magnussen gets ahead of Yuki Tsunoda for 12th place, as Oliver Behrman trying to get ahead of Nico Hülkenberg for 9th. Those are the sort of big battles going on around the circuit, including the Hamilton Piastri one, which we are currently witnessing at the moment, as we see a replay of Oscar Piastri trying to get around the outside of Lewis Hamilton. There's a bit of contact there. And something mad I just realised is that Fernando Alonso is competing against a driver who was born in the year he won the World Championship. Mental. Absolutely mental. It's a bit like Michael Schumacher competing against Daniel Ricciardo, I suppose, or something along those lines. But here's a battle going on for second place. Sergio Perez finally catching up to Lando Norris, who's lost a second to Max Verstappen on that last lap, and Perez has gained 3/10 on the lap before this, so he has closed up significantly, and he's just going to waltz on by as well, as Norris's battle is not with the Red Bulls today. It seems to be more with the Ferraris and the Mercedes for that podium place, and well, Alonso wants to be in that battle, but he's struggling to be in it at the moment. And speaking of the 18-year-old, there is Oliver Behrman battling with Nico Hülkenberg for that points place. Of course, Hülkenberg making his F1 debut when Ollie was only 4 years old. 4 or 5 years old. 4, yeah, because I think his birthday's in the summer. Oliver Behrman's, and obviously Hülkenberg debuted in the 2010 Bahrain Grand Prix in March. But at the moment, Hülkenberg hanging on from Behrman. Of course, Behrman took the pole position in Formula 2 around here, but no cigar in the end, because he was called up to replace Carlos Sainz in his maiden F1 race, and he is in the points at the moment. He is in 10th place, as here is Oscar Piastri and Lewis Hamilton, who are continuing their battle for 5th place, as Charles Leclerc is 2 seconds up the road from Hamilton, but 2 seconds down the road from Lando Norris, roughly the same gap. So you're going to expect the gap from Hamilton to increase and the gap to Norris to decrease because of the tyre wear of Norris and Hamilton's cars. But here's Piastri in the DRS. He's right behind Lewis Hamilton. And is he going to be able to make a move into the last corner? I don't think he's close enough for the last corner, but I think he will make a move into the first corner to try and get ahead in this race. And he's doing a fantastic job, Oscar Piastri, of just hanging fire, staying with Lewis Hamilton, and waiting for a chance, and that chance could come here. He's getting closer. That Mercedes is quite slippery in a straight line, as Oliver Behrman does get ahead of Nico Hülkenberg, and Piastri's just not close enough into the first corner, and Hamilton defends well enough to stay ahead, and Hülkenberg and Behrman are having a battle for 9th place at the moment. I think Behrman got ahead on the back straight, and then Hülkenberg got ahead on the main straight, which means that Behrman is now behind Hülkenberg again in this race. Hamilton and Piastri still battling for P5 as they head into the end of the first sector, off of the sort of roller coaster bit and into the banked corner, which has been inspired, reportedly anyway, by Tarzan, which is one of the corners on the Zandvoort circuit, which came back on the F1 calendar in 2021. And here's a replay of Nico Hülkenberg and Oliver Behrman, and it is exactly as I thought, which was Behrman getting ahead on the back straight and Hülkenberg re-overtaking on the main straight. It's better to wait until the main straight, because then there isn't any other overtaking opportunities until later on in the lap, whereas if you do it on the back straight, you're immediately threatened on the front straight by the car in front of you, especially if you overtake them before the DRS activation line. So because that means that you're under threat on both straights by the car behind you. But here is Piastri just behind Hamilton, and is he going to be able to make a move this time? Hamilton's exits are just so good from that last corner, despite the fact that his tyres are a little bit more worn out. And Piastri is closing in, but he's not getting enough. Hamilton's hanging on fantastically here. It's been a brilliant drive so far from the Mercedes driver, and here is Oliver Behrman trying to get ahead of Nico Hülkenberg again. He's closing up on the brakes, but again, he's just not able to get through. And luckily for him, Zhou Guanyu is some 5 seconds back from him. As we head onto lap 20 of the race, it's still Max Verstappen in the lead, and then it's his teammate Sergio Perez. And following them, it is Lando Norris in third. I'm just going to see if there's a way for me to maybe hold it like this. Hello, hang on a sec. I'm going to see if I can Ooh, that works. Hang on. That works quite well. Oh, look at that. I don't actually need to hold it now. So, let me just move it a little bit. Behrman still a little bit back from Hulkenberg in this race as he's trying to get ahead, heading into the last part of the circuit. Tell you what, I'll just hold it. Hang on. I'll zip this back up. There we go. So, Behrman just behind Hulkenberg as they head onto the back straight, and what he needs to remember is to not overtake on the back straight unless you get a really good exit out the last corner, because if you pass in the back straight, you're under threat in the main straight, and he's just got to stick behind him. He shouldn't make a move, and he's not going to. He was a little bit too far back anyway, and Behrman's taking a slightly wider line and very good acceleration at the last corner, and this will surely be the time where he finally gets past Hulkenberg, who's defended brilliantly against him, and Behrman finally gets ahead, and he is finally up into 9th place, 6 seconds back from George Russell, as Piastri and Hamilton are still battling on for P5 in this race, and Leclerc is closing up to Lando Norris. So at the moment we've not got a lot of action on the track. However, we're beginning to see the gaps close down between some cars, such as... Oh, there is an investigation going on for Kevin Magnussen and Yuki Tsunoda gaining the track and leaving the track and gaining an advantage. So I think that'll be reference to Magnussen's overtake on Tsunoda earlier on in the race, which I spotted on the timing on the leaderboard. So here we go. Here's the battle for third that I was talking about between Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc. Leclerc 1.3 seconds back from him at the moment, and you can expect that he'll catch him in the next couple of laps as we head towards the halfway mark of this race. We've already been live for an hour, which is pretty cool, as Verstappen sets another fastest lap, and he is now 6.3 seconds clear, and another battle, another lap between Piastri and Hamilton where they're so close. But is Piastri finally close enough to make the move? And Kevin Magnussen's got another penalty, this time for leaving the track and gaining an advantage, a 10-second penalty. So Kevin Magnussen is the unluckiest driver on the grid at the moment. A 10-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. And that's what it says here. 10-second time penalty for car number 20. That's Kevin Magnussen. Leaving the track and gaining an advantage. Hamilton's still ahead of Piastri, and that Mercedes is just really slippery off the corners to the point where Piastri can't get ahead of him. He's just got to keep waiting until Hamilton's 22 lap-old mediums finally properly begin to grain and wear. But Hamilton's doing a very good job at managing those tyres and making sure that it doesn't wear to the point where he can't lose time to Piastri. But as I say that, I mean, Leclerc has pulled 4 seconds on him, which is, a lot. So, while Leclerc's been closing 4 seconds in, closing 4 seconds out on Hamilton, he's closing 1.3 seconds now in on Lando Norris. He's going to try and get within DRS for the next lap, and I think he will, because he's 1.1 behind him at the moment, so he's just going to gain a couple tenths on the next lap, and he will be in DRS as Oscar Piastri activates the DRS, and he'll probably be thinking, why doesn't this activate earlier? Because the DRS does activate a little bit further down on the straight than some drivers would want, and Piastri again doesn't get ahead of Hamilton because he's just not got the straight line speed. However, this is what I like. I prefer battles like this, where, it takes a little bit of time for the driver to get ahead than overtake. I prefer that over I prefer a build up and then a move than just a move. Because, there's no tension, it just gets rid of the tension. It's a bit like waiting for a jump scare in a horror movie, If you just, if it says the jump scare is going to come in 3, 2, 1, then, that just sort of ruins the fun, doesn't it, of a horror movie. But I don't like horror movies anyway, so that analogy isn't relatable to me, but maybe it might be to some of you guys at home. The gap's currently half a second between Piastri and Hamilton as they head onto the back straight once again. And Hamilton gains half a tenth out of that last corner before the back straight as Verstappen sets another fastest lap. And he is just dominating this race at the moment. But we do still have some good action going on further back with Hamilton and Piastri. And Piastri is close this time. He's half a second back, 4/10 now, and he's closing in on Hamilton. And this might finally be the move we're looking for. And he's going to go for it. Nope, Hamilton just about hangs on. He locks up the brakes heading into the first corner. And I do not know how Fernando Alonso has not closed in on these guys, because they're battling so much. It's just, Piastri's losing so much time behind Hamilton. Meanwhile, Leclerc is closing up on Norris. And here's a replay of the Kevin Magnussen incident with Yuki Tsunoda, that caused him to gain a place. And it's, pretty simple. He went off the track. He braked too late to try and overtake Tsunoda. He went off the track and stayed ahead. He didn't let him through. And it's not like when, one driver forces another one off the track. It was actually the opposite case there, where he outbraked himself and went off track and stayed ahead. But now we have a battle for that big podium place, the best of the rest place behind the Red Bulls. It is Charles Leclerc versus Lando Norris. And this is going to get very interesting here, because of course it's a battle between McLaren and Ferrari. Worn mediums versus slightly worn hards, relatively new hards compared to the mediums, as Verstappen sets another fastest lap, this time a 132.683, which is 4/10 quicker than what his fastest lap was some 10 laps ago. And now we hit the halfway point of the Grand Prix, some hour and 17 minutes into the stream, as we've got two battles going on at once, both involving McLarens and a Ferrari and a Mercedes, as the battle for the podium and the battle for fifth continues. Piastri's still stuck behind Hamilton, and there's nothing he can do at the moment to get ahead in this race. He just cannot seem to get that last corner exit that he needs. And there's a bunch of radio, but I can't hear it because it's not subtitled. If it's subtitled, I can hear it, but I don't want to. I don't want to have my headphones on in case I'm going like this, and I don't realise it. So I'm trying not to be too loud, as Hamilton and Piastri are still battling. And here we have another battle. And this is Yuki Tsunoda trying to get back ahead of Kevin Magnussen, who's got 20 seconds of time penalties. And another thing I just realised is Leclerc's going to be wanting to get a hurry up on, because Sergio Perez has got a 5-second time penalty, and Norris is 6.5 seconds back. So Leclerc's going to have to get past him as soon as possible, and gain, by the time he probably gets ahead of him, about 2 seconds. As that was a bit squirrely there from, I think it was Alex Albon or Logan Sargent, as we look at the battle for 12th, but they're all stuck behind Kevin Magnussen. It's Magnussen, then Tsunoda, Ocon, Albon, and Sargent in that battle for 12th place in this race. And at the moment, the car that's outside of the big five teams that's occupying that point position is Nico Hülkenberg's Haas, but he is yet to pit, as is Zhou. So if you'd expect it to be Yuki Tsunoda once everything simmers down, as of course Kevin Magnussen has that time penalty. He is currently in 12th, but he has the time penalty. We've got the battle going on for third here. Norris and Leclerc still continuing their battle around this brilliant section of track through the first sector. Left, right, loads of fast, quick chicane sections which demonstrate the driver ability. And Norris is pulled nearly a second on Leclerc there, apparently, as here comes Tsunoda and Hülkenberg battling. Magnussen, battling, as the Alpine gets just about stays ahead of the Williams, and it's Ocon versus Albon here in the battle for 14th. This is just, battle of the spoon pudding, but, the wooden spoon, I should say, but it's still quite important because it's entertaining to watch, I suppose it's a bit like watching two teams that have already been relegated from the Football League. But then again, that's probably not exciting because both of them probably play 5-back counter-attacking Briggs FC football. I'm looking at you, Sean Dyche. No, I'm joking. So at the moment, Verstappen leads by 7.1 seconds now from Perez, and he sets another fastest lap, a 132.5, and he's just getting the maximum out of that car. Norris is now 8 seconds back which shows how much he's struggling on those tyres now. And Leclerc's finally going to get ahead of him as they head onto the straight, and Norris isn't even fighting him. I'm surprised, but Norris is just a sit and duck at this point. You know, Leclerc's got to gain 3 seconds now. I estimated he'd be about, 6.5 back. 7 back by the time he got ahead of Norris, but it's 8. It's not 7 seconds, it's 8 seconds. That shows how much time Norris had been losing up until that point. As we head on to lap 27 of the race, and it's Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc, Norris, Hamilton, Piastri, Alonso, Russell, Behrman, and then Nico Hülkenberg in 10th. But of course, Hamilton, in order, Norris, Hamilton, Hülkenberg and Zhou are still to make their opening pit stops, and probably their only pit stop of the Grand Prix. So, we're beginning to see every place sort of unravel itself, and we're starting to see a more consistent pattern in the order. But one thing that still hasn't changed is Oscar Piastri is still stuck behind Lewis Hamilton. It's been about 10-15 laps now that he's been stuck behind him, and 10-15 laps since Leclerc overtook him, and Piastri's just, he's struggling to get ahead of Hamilton. That Ferrari's good in acceleration. The McLaren just seems to be a little bit slower on acceleration, and that means that he isn't able to get ahead on the straight. He is closing in a lot this time, though. He is right behind him. I think this is the closest he's been so far to him. But it's just that exit, the dirty air still has an effect, and also good acceleration for the Mercedes. But with that being said, Piastri's still close, but he's just not close enough. He needs to try and get ahead at the last corner, jeopardize Hamilton's exit, and try and just stick it with DRS, try and break the toe. That's what he has to do here, but it's going to be tricky because that Mercedes is really good in acceleration, clearly. Either that or McLaren has a bigger dirty air effect, and there is the current leader of the F1 Academy Series, Dorian Pan, who is a absolutely fantastic racing driver. I recommend you go and check F1 Academy out because she's doing a fantastic job in that series, as is my friend Abby Pulling, who is currently second in the standings after back-to-back second places to Dorian Pan. She is the best of the rest in that. But speaking of best of the rest, here's Battle of the Wooden Spoon once again between Esteban Ocon and Alex Albon as they battle for 14th place in this massive train behind Kevin Magnussen, which features Magnussen, Tsunoda, Ocon, Albon and Sargent. And Daniel Ricciardo is closing in a little bit on this train, as is Valtteri Bottas, but they're not closing in enough to be in that train at the moment. They're each 2 seconds back from the car in front, Ricciardo being the back of the train and Bottas being 2 seconds behind Ricciardo. And here we go, Alex Albon trying to get around the outside of Ocon, and that's a very bold move as they head out of the banked corner and onto one of the straights as they head into the right-hander. I think we're onto about turn 11 or turn 12 now, and heading on to one of the many straights on this track. And it's still just about Ocon ahead of Albon, and Albon's trying to force an error out of Ocon in the same area where Lance Stroll crashed out of the race. And I'm surprised he didn't actually red flag it, because he damaged the barrier a little bit there. But it seems that they got that fixed during the safety car period. But here's the battle, and we've got 2 battles going on. We've got the battle between Tsunoda and Magnussen. Tsunoda takes the wide line heading into the last corner, which gives him a better exit than Magnussen, crucially, because Magnussen went more direct, which meant he had slower acceleration. Tsunoda gets the better acceleration, DRS, and through he goes back ahead of Magnussen, and back into 12th place of this race. And Magnussen's still going to fight it. They're still running side by side. Magnussen just about keeps it on the circuit, on the aisle, and he stays ahead. Tsunoda has a poor exit, and through goes Esteban Ocon, and that was a brilliant bit of defending there from Kevin Magnussen. He kept it on the track, he kept his foot in the door, and he just about stays ahead in the battle for 12th place between himself and Yuki Tsunoda. And now Tsunoda is behind the Alpine of Ocon as well, and that means that Tsunoda is now under threat from the feisty tie Brit that is Alexander Albon, who is right behind him in the Williams. And that Williams, as you guys know, is very slippery in a straight line. I'm talking more slippery than somebody's hand after they've had a couple of cheeseburgers from McDonald's. That's what I'm talking about when I mean greasy. Or, you know, and after they've had some large fries with that as well. And Tsunoda's probably going to be thinking, he went off the track, but he didn't. 3 wheels were off the track, one of them wasn't, and you can see just a tiny bit of the tire was on the track, but he kept on the track, and it was precision, absolute precision there from Kevin Magnussen. And Yuki Tsunoda says, what dangerous driving, but that is racing at its finest, in my opinion anyway. As we head out the last corner, the 5 of them once again together, and Ricciardo, as I said, is beginning to join that battle for 12th place. And I know I'm commentating on 12th place, but it's some beautiful racing here, as we've got Magnussen and Ocon dueling for 12th place now, and this might end up being a points position by the end because of Hulkenberg and Zhou needing to pit still, because after those guys have pitted, they're going to have to catch up to these guys because of how long the pit stops will be, or they'll be hoping for another safety car. And to be fair, with the racing that's going on between Magnussen and any other driver at the moment, literally anything can happen. Like, if he keeps driving the way he's driving, there's probably going to end up being a safety car. I like an aggressive driver. But he's got 20 seconds of time penalties, and he's probably hoping that there isn't a safety car, because then he's got a bigger gap out to the cars behind. Because if there's a safety car, everybody sort of jams together and sticks together, like a bit of Play-Doh. So it'll be trickier for him to be able to pull ahead of the others, because they'll be right behind him. So he doesn't want a safety car. He wants to pull ahead and try and get a bit of a gap. But it's difficult when you're looking in your mirrors and there's nobody in front of you to actually look for. It's so difficult, because he hasn't got Zhou straight in front of him. He's 10 seconds back, from Zhou. And in the speed trap, Alex Albon had a speed of 210 miles per hour, which is very impressive indeed. And we're heading on to lap number 31 of the race, as Verstappen leads by 7.7 seconds. He's settled down a little bit now. And Piastri and Hamilton aren't really battling as much as they were earlier. Piastri is just not able to get ahead, as everything's just sort of stabilized in this race. Things are a lot more, but there's still battle going on for 12th here. And it's a very, very interesting battle. It's not for points, but it's still, for, the teams that finished lower than 12th in Bahrain, this is important, because it does get them up in the constructor standings. It's strange, but, Williams, Alpine, and Haas will be wanting, and I think Cash App will be wanting to finish in 12th place in this race. I'll go and quickly have a look and see if that's right. I'll see you finished. Oh, wait a minute, I'll just come up here, won't it? Yeah, so Haas finished 12th in Bahrain. It's Cash App and Haas who actually no, sorry, not Cash App and Haas. Kick, I should say, and Haas, who are wanting to defend that place, that 12th place. And Alpine and Haas are wanting, not Alpine and Haas, sorry. Yeah, Alpine and Cash App are going to be and Williams are going to be wanting to get in on that and try and get ahead. I'll have to change the standings, obviously, because some of them are a little bit wrong because of best finishes and everything. Because how it works is if a team hasn't scored points, then it comes down to what their best finish is, really. So if there's been 3 or 4 teams that have not scored any points, it comes down to whichever the best finish is. The first example I can think of in my head for that is 2013, when Caterham and Marussia were both competing, and neither of them scored points. I'll have a little look at that. So Marussia finished ahead of Caterham because their best finish was a 13th, and the best place finish for Caterham was a 14th. Because there was a 14th in Hungary for Caterham and a 13th in Malaysia for Marussia. So that's why it's actually quite important to be in front of the other cars at the moment anyway in time. Of course, these teams are probably going to get points over the course of the season because there's probably going to be mechanical problems or crashes from some of the other teams, such as Lance Stroll today. But you know, it's important right now because you know if they don't end up scoring points, then you know finishes like these are important. You know, whoever's got more 11th place finishes or 12th place finishes is going to finish ahead in the standings. So this is quite an important battle in the grand scheme of things. And Magnussen is still ahead of Ocon as we head on to lap 33 of the race. So we are, let me think, nearly 2/3 of the way through the race, I think. Let me do the math. I'm going to do some math here. Hang on, itchy nose. No, hang on. And yeah, we've just hit 2/3 race distance now. Lap 34 is now what we're on. Max Verstappen setting another fastest lap, a 1:32.3. Oh my goodness, this guy's insane. Like the lap times he's setting is just, I mean, it just shows how much of a talented driver he is, and also to a slightly smaller degree how the car is built around him effectively. And here we go. Here's a replay of the battle between Albon and Tsunoda. Albon goes down the inside. It's a great move, and he stays ahead. And I'm sorry I didn't pick that one up, guys. I was having a look at if we hit 2/3 race distance or not, and we have. And there is Oscar Piastri and Lewis Hamilton, who are still dueling for 6th place in this race. 4th and 5th are 5th place, I should say, in this race. 4th and 5th are yet to pit, and Nico Hulkenberg has finally come into the pits. So the battle for 12th is now going to become the battle for 11th, and Hulkenberg should come out in that battle roughly when he gets out of the pits, because that's roughly what the pit stop time is. I suppose Magnussen's basically just been a battering ram for his teammate, and he's come out ahead. So well done to Kevin Magnussen for playing the team game there and effectively giving his teammate a points finish at the moment anyway, because Zhou's going to have to pit and he'll come out behind Hulkenberg and he'll come out in that battle or further back from that battle. In fact, everybody is in that battle now for 12th place, as Behrman's engineer, Riccardo Adami, is saying you're doing a mega job out there. Or no, I forgot who Sainz's engineer is actually. Riccardo is Leclerc's engineer, I should say. But here we go. Piastri might finally get ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Oh, he's going to go for it around the outside. Is he going to hang on? Hamilton's going to go for it. No, Hamilton doesn't even defend it. And he's gone wide. Piastri's locked up and he's gone off the track. He has to let Hamilton back through. And just like that, his first chance to get ahead of Hamilton, he locks up and goes off the track. And he has to do it again on lap 35. On lap 36, I should say. The next lap that's coming up now. But yeah, that battle at the back is actually pretty cool because we've got all the cars within a second of each other, apart from Ricciardo and Bottas. I'm going to go to the toilet, guys, so I will be right back. I'm just going to put some text on the stream and say... Why isn't it coming up? It's weird. Oh, wait a minute, I haven't got any text, that's why. Oh my goodness, that's way too big, hang on. How big have I made that? Right, hang on. I'm gonna have to make that much smaller. What on earth? Right, what have I done here? What have I even done here? I don't even know what I've done here. I've made it massive for no reason. Hang on. Hang on. I'm trying to Where is that? There it is. No, that's the screen capture. I don't want the screen capture. Hang on, right, delete that. Hang on a second, guys. I'm trying to sort myself out here. Nope, that's not that. That's not what I'm looking for at all. I'm looking for the size. How do I... Tell you what, I'll delete this and I'll make another one. Hang on. And, hang on. I think Piastri's finally going to get Hamilton here. So, what I'll do is I'll put that on screen. And I'll watch this. I'll switch it off for now. And here comes Piastri. He's going to go for the move on Hamilton. And Hamilton comes into the pits. Piastri is probably thinking, I did all that. And he just comes into the pits. But yeah, Hamilton is into the pits now. And I will be back in a minute. We are thinking of going soft tires to the end. Ooh! Spicy! BRB. Right, there we go. And Sergio Perez has got fastest lap. We've actually had a bit of action there. So Sergio Perez has got fastest lap, 132.2. So he's running at a good pace. But Verstappen's probably using about 60% of his actual power. Alonso and Russell are still battling for 6th place. And Lando Norris is going to be coming into the pits this lap. And there he goes. And he should be coming out behind Oliver Bearman. So Bearman's going to move up into 7th place here. So he's on for a really good return in this race. However, slow pit stop for Norris. 4.1 seconds. And where's Norris going to come out? Is he going to be ahead of Lewis Hamilton? And he just about is. That slow pit stop has really cost him time to Oliver Bearman. And these two... Am I reading that right? No, I was going to say Norris isn't on hards. Why would Norris be on hard tyres? He's on softs, you muppets. Change it. He's not on hards, he's on softs. I don't know why it says he's on hards. He's on soft tyres. Clearly. But yeah, it was that right rear tyre that just didn't stick on. So that'll be really frustrating for him because that was a really good chance to be a bit closer to Ollie Bearman. Now he's got a bit more work to do. So these two, Bearman's going to have to hang on here because Norris and Hamilton are going to be coming at him like wild hyenas. And there's your race leader, the man who we haven't seen since he overtook Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, who's 8.2 seconds in the lead. That's dominance right there. He's not even going full pace either. If Sergio Perez has a faster lap than him, that's how you know Verstappen's not going full pace. He's probably saving his tyres until the very last lap, and then he'll take fastest lap back from Perez and be a cheeky wee sod. I just realised he's not got a Grand Slam. I just realised because Norris led a couple laps, Verstappen's not going to get a Grand Slam. Jim Clark's record continues. But there's the fastest lap, and it is Lewis Hamilton, and he's close right up on Lando, and Lando's clearly had a bit of a mistake because he was comfortably ahead of Hamilton. So, and Hamilton's at a 131.6. Actually, yeah, good luck beating that, Max. Good luck beating that on hard tyres, pal. Lewis has just gone about half a second quicker than Perez's fastest lap. So Verstappen's not going to beat that. For starters, because if he pits, he won't win the race, and he'll lose 6 points. So probably better to just maybe not do that. Mick Schumacher, the reserve driver for Mercedes, And there he is, the man who is out with appendicitis for this race, Carlos Sainz. Of course, Oliver Bearman doing a fantastic job at filling in for him, and I'm sure it says he's chasing Russell for sixth. If so, that's brilliant, but I don't think he will. I don't think he is. Bearman's running a solid race, 7th place at the moment. That would put him all the way up to 9th in the driver's standings, which is very impressive. And, you know, it's very noteworthy, you know, especially considering, you know, he's so young. And I think that if he does, because he's doing so well in this race, I think some teams are going to be looking at him for a mid-season swap. That's impressive through the high speed with him. So that's Hamilton talking about Norris's speed through high speed. Yeah. McLaren seem to be really good in the high speed corners, but they're slower in the slow speed corners than some of the other teams. I think that they suit tracks like this where it's high speed, and like Bahrain, TRL Saudi Arabian race 10 times better than this. Look, pipe down. That's online stuff. This is real life. Real life beats online 10 times out of 10. So pipe down. By the way, I am up for IndyCar quali later if you want to watch it. I wasn't up for practice because I just couldn't be bothered to watch practice. But yeah, Hamilton and Norris are going to be hunting down Bearman here, trying to get themselves up into 7th place. However, Bearman's not going to make it easy for them. I've watched Ollie Bearman over the last 3 seasons, I should say, including this season. What do you mean? The fuck you mean pipe? The heck you mean pipe down? Top 2 separated by 0.061 of a second. Still, it's virtual. And also the driver quality really isn't that good. I mean, I suppose it's like watching two League 2 teams play against each other and play out a 2-1 win with one team scoring in the very last minute. Alonso's team radio, Norris is still 13 seconds back. He is having a bit of a fight with Hamilton. Give me a countdown of the laps. I'm in qualifying mode right now. Not a bad race, to be honest. Are you talking about this one or the TRL race? Because this has actually been quite a good race. Verstappen has dominated, yeah, but there's actually been some really good battles in the midfield, and you know we've still got battles to come with Hamilton and Norris catching up to Bearman and Alonso. Yeah, exactly. This race has been good. Norris incident noted weaving on the straight. So has he been doing that a bit too much? To quote I forgot who it was that said that meme. Naughty, you're teasing me, you naughty. That's Lando Norris right now. Naughty. Stewards are noting that. And Max Verstappen's now coming up to that absolutely massive gaggle of cars, which are battling for 11th place in this race. 12th, well, it will be 11th place once Joe pits anyway. Because Joe has stupidly stayed out for 42 laps on the same set of tyres, even though he probably should have pitted about 5, 6, 7 laps ago. And according to AWS, Oliver Bearman's going to get caught by Lando Norris in 6 laps, so it will be a duel right at the end of the race, because we are now on lap 42, so we're heading into the last 9 laps of the race, guys. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. We've hit 1,000 subscribers in early January, so thank you all so much for the support on that. Onwards and upwards for the channel, hopefully. So we're heading up to lap 43 now, so I'm just going to see what percentage of the race we're into. We are 86% of the way into this race, according to the calculator. And it's a black and white flag for Norris, so if he does that 1 or 2 more times, he's going to be getting himself a penalty, and he will not be wanting that at all. They'll be telling him, Lando, no more being on the straight, son. You're not warming up your tyres. You're defending from Hamilton and trying to hunt down Bearman. And as I was talking about Joe last lap, he has finally come into the pits, and he will be right at the back because his team decided to put him way later. And Bearman has said, at this pace, will Norris catch us or not? And Bearman said, yeah, we believe so in 4 laps. So their estimations are slightly different from AWS. I trust Ferrari more than I trust AWS, to be honest, and it's quite a contest, that, isn't it? I mean, at the moment, Ollie Bearman is comfortably winning driver of the day, which I think is fair, but Kevin Magnussen's been very good today as well, I have to admit. He's been fantastic to watch. And Joe Guan Yu's having a pit stop with about as much speed as a slug, as if I had to estimate it, 15 seconds at least on the pit stop. And Kick, Steak, Sauber, whatever their name is, are going to be wanting to forget about this race today. As here is George Russell and Fernando Alonso, who are battling for 5th place at the moment, 10 points in this race. And the moment the order is Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc, Piastri, Alonso, Russell, Behrman, Norris, Sainz, Hülkenberg, and that is your top 10 at the moment. As Hülkenberg is probably going to be that driver who gets that point, the point that Stroll gave up when he crashed on lap 7 of the race and caused most of the field to pit. And Magnussen's defence has meant that Hülkenberg has now got that point locked in, and all he needs to do is just get to the end. Behrman says, how far away is Hamilton? Hamilton's and he's wondering that because Hamilton and Norris are chasing him down as they are on the soft compound tyres and they are relatively new, whereas Behrman is in chill mode. Yeah, my chair can do that. I'm trying to stop it. There we go. So we've got this lovely little driver's eye here with George Russell as he tries to hunt down Fernando Alonso for that 10 points in this race. Behrman's going to try and hang on for 7th here. It's going to be a really interesting battle at the end to see who comes out on top between Norris, Hamilton, I should say, and Behrman. And who will come out on top in this battle for 5th place between Fernando Alonso and George Russell. I am George Russell. I am from Soviet Union. Don't know why I just went into Soviet Union accent mode. I love this TikTok my girlfriend posted where it's like, my name is Anton. And here's a replay of Alex Albon getting past Esteban Ocon. Sadly, the TV direction wasn't on that, and instead on a battle between this battle here between Hamilton and Norris. Of course, earlier on, the other McLaren of Oscar Piastri was hunting down Norris, and Hamilton. And this time, it's the other way around, as Norris is defending from Hamilton. So we've got 6 laps to go once Verstappen crosses the line, and he'll cross the line any second now, I'm pretty sure. And as I said, it is Max Verstappen in the lead by 7.5 seconds from Perez. He's just doing this. He's already preparing for Australia, guys. I mean, he's already preparing for Australia. Leclerc is 12 seconds back from him. Piastri's 11 seconds back from Leclerc's 11 seconds back from Perez, so about 18 seconds back from Verstappen. Then Piastri is 11 seconds behind Leclerc. And then we got the battle between Alonso and Russell for 5th. And they're 4 seconds back from Piastri at the moment. And the idea that Norris and Hamilton are going to catch Alonso and Russell is seeming to become more and more faltered, as there is Ollie Behrman with the McLaren and the Mercedes in his mirrors beginning to come up behind him like a ghost. It's inevitable that this battle is going to partake. We've got 6 laps, and let's see if being the key word, Hamilton and Norris can catch Ollie Behrman. The gap is 3.2 seconds right now between Norris and Behrman, and another second back is Hamilton, so 4 seconds roughly. And there's John Elkann, the chairman of Ferrari, and Oliver Behrman's father. John Elkann is, of course, the grandson of Gianni Agnelli, who was the guy who bought Ferrari when they were really, really struggling financially, and that was in the early 1960s, and Fiat still owned Ferrari in 2024, some 60 years later, and since then, many things have happened in the motorsport world. But we are still focusing on this battle between Norris and Hamilton. These two are battling as they're catching Behrman, but they're not doing it at a quick enough rate. They've got to pick up the pace here, because otherwise they're not going to catch him. It's 3 seconds at the moment. They're not really closing in that much at all. And I think those soft tyres are beginning to falter a little bit. I think this strategy is not going to pay off, and Oliver Behrman is going to beat Lando Norris, and the man who he nearly knocked out of qualifying, missing out by just 36 thousandths, Lewis Hamilton. But here's Hamilton right behind Norris. Is he going to go down the inside? Nope, Norris defends. And this defending only means one thing. Oliver Behrman's going to have a lot more comfort because these two are battling. Oliver Behrman's just going to be looking in front of him, not behind him in this race. Russell and Alonso still sort of dueling for fifth. Russell's a second and a half back, so I think he's sort of given that up and he'll take the 8 points, walk away and think, you know what? That's alright. As Oliver Behrman still winning the driver of the day vote, 43%. Hamilton's got 8% and Perez 6%. Verstappen, of course, not winning driver of the day. I love how it's a complete contrast because I remember Into the Barrier, who's a YouTube channel who uploads once every 24 years. He made this parody once, and it was Verstappen getting driver of the day, because Verstappen used to get driver of the day a lot, and that was because of the amount of fans that he had. Still has, obviously, but nowadays it's a contrast because he never gets it because he always just wins and nobody actually gives it to him because he's just so dominant. And Norris and Hamilton still battling here, but it's 1.2 seconds. Hamilton's struggling here to actually keep up with Norris, and we've got 4 laps to go. Russell's on the radio about something. I'm assuming it's to do with Alonso and how he's just not catching him quick enough. I don't know what the gap is now between Norris and Behrman. I think it's going to be like 2.5 seconds probably. Let's see what the gap is. It is still waiting for it to come up on screen. It's coming up big with the gap between Norris and Hamilton. And on that last lap, Norris was half a second quicker than Hamilton. So, and Hamilton's still his fastest lap, by the way, from earlier on, which is not surprising because he and Norris are the only ones who are on soft tires at the moment that are in competitive cars. Hülkenberg, for some reason, is on hard tires, which makes no sense because, I mean, he did pit a little bit earlier, but could he have got softs to the end? I mean, I suppose they just didn't want to risk it because, they knew he'd be in a comfortable points position unless he had a bad pit stop. So Haas probably could have, their fellas could have just had a cup of tea while they were doing the pit stop because that's how much time they had, But we've got 3 to go here in Saudi Arabia. It's been a very good race compared to Bahrain anyway. We've had battles throughout the field, the battle for 11th place in the race, the battle for the podium positions, which is now sort of just ended. And there's your race leader, Max Verstappen, who has lapped half the field, pretty much. He's lapped most of the competitive cars in this race anyway, and he's just finished. He's just about to go and lap Esteban Ocon, I think, actually. So he's lapped less cars than I thought he had, but maybe that's why he was so slow. I suppose maybe he was lapping cars, and Perez is only a little bit behind him. So credit to Perez because he has kept up with Verstappen quite a bit, and Magnussen's back ahead of Perez again in the driver of the day vote. 46% for Behrman, 7% for Lewis, 6% for Magnussen. Lewis Hamilton I'm referring to, of course. And it's 2.4 seconds. They're not going to catch him. They're not going to catch Behrman. They're not catching him quick enough. Norris needs to gain a second a lap now, minimum, 1.2 seconds a lap minimum to actually get ahead of him in this race. It's 2.2 now, so he is catching him a little bit, but he's not catching him enough, as Esteban Ocon is lapped by Max Verstappen in this race. Verstappen has lapped 5 cars now. 6 cars now, sorry. Ocon, Tsunoda, Sargent, Ricciardo, Bottas, and Zhou. And Perez has lapped Bottas, Zhou, and I think he is about to go and lap Daniel Ricciardo. So Ricciardo's probably thinking right now, this guy's doing okay. Damn it. My chances of a Red Bull state are going away out the window because Yuki's outperforming me, and this guy's only 7 seconds back from Max, which is probably the job he should be doing. He should be finishing second in that car every race because of how good it is. But 2 laps to go. Leclerc just chilling in third, doing his thing. He's just Leclerc's a bit like Kobe Mano. He's quiet. He does his job, and he gets a 7 out of 10 every week. And Leclerc's just chilling in third. He's just doing his own thing. And credit to Leclerc because he's just, Piastri's nowhere near him. He's nowhere near Perez though. So the only argument you can make is that maybe he should be a little bit closer to Perez. But apart from that, he's doing a fantastic job, and he's just running in that best of the rest position. And here's a replay of Daniel Ricciardo. And I think this is him getting lapped by Sergio Perez. Oh, and he spun. And I don't know who's caused that spin. Was it Perez that caused that spin? No, I think he just spun off his own accord, maybe. I don't even know. I think, yeah, he must have spun off his own accord, or Perez hit him, because there isn't any cars behind him apart from Perez, because Perez was lapping him. So we've got 2 to go. Hamilton and Norris have sort of given up their pursuit of Behrman, and Ollie Behrman looks set to score 6 points, a mammoth 6 points in his Formula 1 debut, which is, I don't think I need to tell you guys how impressive that is. Scoring beating Lando Norris, a driver who finished 6th in the driver's standing last season, Lewis Hamilton, the driver who finished best of the rest last season, and a 7-time F1 champion. And for him to do that is incredible, and hats off to him. He's only 5.5 seconds off George Russell, and roughly 8 seconds behind Fernando Alonso. So credit where credit's due. He's had a fantastic race, and there's Behrman, there's Norris, and there's Hamilton. And we're on to the final lap of the race now. Verstappen's leading from Perez. And then it's Leclerc, Piastri, Alonso, Russell, Behrman, Norris, Hamilton, and then Hülkenberg. So things have sort of settled down in the last few laps. We were expecting a climactic ending, but it's been a bit more anticlimactic. And I suppose any second the TV director will be focusing on the leader, Max Verstappen. And there they go to Max Verstappen. He is going to head into the final sector of the track now. He is dominated once again. 8.4 seconds between him and Sergio Perez. You can assume that's because Perez was lapping traffic. And he is going to head onto the final straight and head in towards the final corner. And it's been a dominant display once again from Max Verstappen. He takes his second win at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and Ollie Behrman is set to finish 7th in his first ever Formula 1 race. Max Verstappen wins the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in 2024. Sergio Perez is going to finish 2nd place, and then following him in 3rd is going to be Charles Leclerc. So, and Kevin Magnussen has been penalised now, and he's crossed the line. So, the order, and Charles Leclerc gets fastest lap right at the end, and he stole Lewis's fastest lap. That's pretty impressive, if you ask me. Well done to Charles on getting fastest lap there. I think he was just saving his tyres until the end there. And 1:31.6 is his fastest lap. Oscar Piastri finishes in 4th. Fernando Alonso in 5th. George Russell in 6th. But the man of the hour, the one that we are all very, very happy for, a very impressive drive from the young 18-year-old Brit, Oliver Behrman, who finishes 7th on his Formula 1 debut, and that is absolutely fantastic from him. Lando Norris comes home in 8th. He'll be annoyed that he couldn't catch Behrman before the end, and Lewis Hamilton is in 9th. And then the driver who was lucky enough to inherit Lance Stroll's imminent 10th place is Nico Hülkenberg, who scores Haas's first points of the year and moves them to 6th in the Constructors' Championship. So, thank you all guys very, very much for watching. This has been a very, very good race, and I will see you, let me just have a look and see when the next race actually is. I'm trying to be able to, there we go. So the next race is going to be in Australia, but I won't be up for that. I won't be up for Japan either. I might be up for China. So I will see you guys on the 21st of April, some month away. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next stream, whenever that may be, whether it be football, Formula 1, IndyCar, MotoGP, Formula 2, Formula 3, F1 Academy, whatever. Thank you all for watching.